And I call the member for Forrest.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. On the 21st of August 1943, Dame Enid Lyons was elected to the House of Representatives. And while in this day and age having women in Parliament is nothing unusual, when she and Dorothy Tangney entered the white building down the hill, it caused quite a stir. Female toilets had to be designated. The procedure of the opening of the Parliament had to be slightly amended. No more gentlemen members and gentlemen senators in the Governor-General's opening. Dame Enid first came to the public's attention as the wife of Prime Minister Joseph Lyons, and everyone knew that they were a true team. She took to the role of prime ministerial spouse at the time with great enthusiasm, using it as a platform to give speeches, to write newspaper articles and generally promote traditional values. When her husband died in 1939, she withdrew from public life for a time. By the time of the 1943 election, she was convinced to run for the UAP for the Tasmanian seat of Darwin. She won and entered the House of Representatives and changed the House forever. Dame Enid was the first woman to serve in the House and subsequently the first woman to serve in Cabinet. She was an absolute trailblazer for all of the women who have followed her, including myself. Her maiden speech to the House covered many topics, from the political situation in Europe to the employment situation here in Australia. But a common theme running through the entire speech is the central position of the family as the foundation stone of society. And that is something that permeates in our party to this day. She quoted the late King George in her speech saying, "The foundation of a nation's greatness is in the homes of its people." For her, family was everything and provided much stability in her life. She and Joseph had 12 children, and they were a great comfort throughout their life. She also believed in hard work and the rewards that came from that. She believed that women should earn equal pay with men if they went out and worked. Quite a radical idea at the time, Mr Deputy Speaker, considering that hers was an era and a time when women stayed at home. Well, Dame Enid was instrumental in bringing in welfare payments for mothers, as well as equal training for both men and women. She was a visionary. Mr Deputy Speaker, Dame Enid Lyons was one of the most highly decorated women of her generation, awarded the Dame Grand Cross of the Order of the British Empire. Now, she was a household name across the country and even wrote a column in the Women's Weekly and remained a commissioner of the ABC until 1962. As a woman who blazed a trail to this House that Enid was, I'm one of those who's very proud to follow in her footsteps as the very first female Chief Whip of the Liberal Party and of a sitting government. We do need to keep celebrating the firsts in our party and in this Parliament. And certainly Dame Enid has been honoured in many ways, from the naming of the Dame Enid Lyons Place here in Canberra to her being made a Dame in the Order of Australia in 1980. And we saw with the event that was held last night to recognise Dame Enid Lyons. We saw all of her family, or so many of her family, present at that, and a reenactment of her first speech. Something that was delivered so well and gave us a great sense of how not only Dame Enid would have spoken, but her feelings at the time. So I feel a great sense of pride in being in the same party as Dame Enid. Hers is a legacy that blazed a trail for women across all forms of political persuasion. But I'm very proud that the first woman in the House of Representatives was in fact a woman, and that was Dame Enid Lyons. It is an absolute legacy that the women in the Liberal Party are proud to look up to, and that we should never forget or stop celebrating. She placed her family and her country, as I said, at the centre of her life. And that shone through in her contributions not only in the Parliament, but in the community during her 3 terms in this House, 3 terms. And that's a fantastic achievement. It's absolutely a privilege to rise and speak on the legacy of this great Liberal woman, a woman who paved the way for all women, including the women sitting in this chamber right now, paved the way for all women who have followed her to enter this House, and a woman whose legacy is just as relevant today as it was in 1943. Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker.
I thank the member.